Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Good to see you. Thanks so much for joining me this Friday for Coffee with the Principal. Hope you've had a great week. So today I'm gonna share with you some updates, what we've been doing in some of our classrooms as we've come back to in-person school, an opportunity for you to get involved in a career day that's coming up shortly, and then just the latest with COVID, because that's the biggest thing that's going on right now. Okay, so just a reminder, I know y'all mostly know the drill. We've joined the meeting muted. Feel free to use the chat box as needed. Encourage you to leave your video on, but you don't have to. Feel free to use the raise your hand voices, and we are recording the video so we can share with families a little bit later. Okay. So we've been back in classes for 2 weeks and we're super excited to do that. The best part of my day is when I get to visit classrooms and seeing what the kids are doing, and I don't get to do as much as I like to do. In ELA these days, our students are working on projects, on writing projects. This group is doing a project on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, so it's cool to see them doing online research, but also taking what they're learning in terms of constructing powerful persuasive essays and explicating them together. So super cool to see. In science classes, students are continuing on with the biological sciences. This particular lesson is on some of the nutrition elements that are connected with biology and human physiology. So we're excited as kids engage in that particular learning. And then finally, one of the things I want to share with you is I talked about this, but I wanted to show you a little bit more. Our teachers are amazing and do community circles, which is from time to time just coming together as a class and literally forming a circle to discuss current events, issues, social emotional learning. This is a really powerful community builder, and it's a way to connect kids together, solve problems together, and build that rapport with each other. So our teachers do this a lot, and we're super excited about that as it happens. Okay, one of the cool things that is happening coming up soon is on February 18th, we are having a career day here on campus. We are super excited to be doing our career day. We didn't have it last year because of COVID, but we've had it in previous years, and it is amazing. And it's an amazing way for kids to see and get to know people in various careers that they may want to pursue someday. They all know what teachers do for a living, but maybe not so much everybody else. So we're asking for your help. Miss Gueth is putting together this career day, and we would love for some folks to be able to volunteer to come in from 9 a.m. to noon, or a portion of that on Friday, February 18th. There is a link that's on the screen, bit.ly/KJ Career Day 22. It's the same link to the form you see in that flyer. If you have questions about it, please reach out to Ms. Gueth, who is coordinating it all. Her email is right there, and she's got a phone number that you can reach out right there. And I want to make sure I've got it correctly, and I do. So check it out with Ms. Gueth and Career Day. Okay, so COVID updates. What's the latest going on with COVID here at the school? So actually, you know what? This is a little bit old. This was what I shared with you last week as of January 18th. That was Tuesday. I'm actually going to give you the updated numbers as of this morning. Give me a second. So I'm going to close this, but I think you can all still see my screen as I go to the COVID dashboard live. And so you can always go to the COVID dashboard right here at achieve.lausd.net/COVID report card. And it will always give you a live look as to what's happening, not just at Katherine Johnson, but any school. And so once that loads, you just go up to the top corner and you search for the school name. In our case, it is Johnson STEM Academy, and what will pop open is our school data. And so the numbers at Johnson STEM Academy and across LA Unified are declining. Currently, there are 5 individuals who are isolating due to an active COVID case, and that number is down from the number in the last 7 days, which was 8. And we started off the new semester with, I think, 13. So it's reducing week by week, and you can see what's happening across Westchester, across LA Unified. If you've got siblings, or if you've got other students at other schools in LA Unified, you can look them up here. So there's a couple updates to this, is including this link right here. What do I do if there's a positive case at my school? And that will update you with all sorts of resources about what's going on, including what I shared with you all last week. And that is this. What happens if your child themselves get a positive test for COVID on our weekly PCR? And I'll put the link to this one directly there. Basically, they would isolate for at least 5 days. So if it's a normal Friday test, they would isolate day 1 Saturday, day 2 Sunday, day 3 Monday, day 4 Tuesday, day 5 Wednesday. And then on Wednesday, they can receive an antigen test, or if they get an antigen test, which is those 15-minute rapid tests, and their symptoms are improving and the antigen test is negative, then they can come back on Thursday. And that's what will happen in if your child tests themselves positive, vaccinated or not. So that's what happens if they test positive. What do you do if your child's exposed to COVID-19? And so this is where it gets a little bit complicated, but I'll share this link with you as well. And I shared these last week, but again, it depends on if they were a close contact, and not all students are close contacts. Just because your student is in a classroom with a student who tests positive doesn't mean they're close contacts. We have all our seating charts for all our classes mapped out, and so we know who sits next to who. So it's based on that 6-foot radius for 15 minutes or more. So once we find out who's been identified as positive, what I do on Sunday mornings is I look up who was sitting next to them for those classes, and those people are close contacts. Now, not every close contact needs to quarantine, and not every close contact needs to quarantine in the same way. A student who has been fully vaccinated, meaning 2 shots, booster doesn't matter at this point, but if a student has been fully vaccinated and they were a close contact, they don't need to quarantine at all. They can still come to school, they can still participate in after-school activities, they can still eat lunch with their friends. We just monitor for symptoms and then they test the next week. If your child was a close contact but is not fully vaccinated, or if we don't have a record of vaccination, but they were mask compliant during the whole time at school, then they can do what's called modified quarantine. And what that is that says, all right, the kids on modified quarantine are unvaccinated, but they did have their masks on, during the time that other student tested positive. So they can come to school, but they cannot stay for after school programs. And also what we do is, because they can't eat with their masks off around other kids, what we do is we pull those kids for lunch about 15 minutes early, and they eat their lunch about 15 minutes early at a table by themselves. And then when lunch starts for the rest of the students, they put their masks back on, leave them on during all of lunch, but they can still hang out with their friends. If it's determined that there was an unvaccinated student who was a close contact but didn't have their mask on during the exposure period, that would be the full quarantine, which means that they would quarantine at home. And so all of those differences can, can come in as you look at those two PDFs from Google or from in the links that I shared. I'll also re-put this one page in the chat as well. One thing that I will say just real briefly is this, and I can stop sharing now because that's basically it, is this. As the principal, I get the results from our weekly testing Sunday morning. And so I spend a bunch of time doing a couple things on Sunday morning. One is identifying close contacts, but also sending out messages to families, you know, who identified positive or who had a close contact through Class Dojo. So I send those messages out on Sunday just because I know sometimes families don't get the messages from the district. The other thing, just so that you are aware of, is we got some families who told us that they received calls from the district central office saying, hey, your kid was a close contact. They've got to quarantine at home the full 10 days. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. For some reason, their wires are crossed, and some of the folks at the district who are calling folks have not necessarily read the updated memo about modified quarantine and all of that. So if your child is, you know, we're happy because everybody's on Class Dojo, and so, you know, definitely check that. If you don't get any messaging from the district or us on Class Dojo, then everything is fine. You know, send your kid to school as normal. One of the other things to know is that if you have a child who did test positive for COVID-19, they actually won't participate in weekly testing for 90 days. So, you know, we had a bunch of kids who, you know, tested positive over the break. They don't test with us weekly until March or April. And that's the reason for that is because PCR tests will keep coming up positive for about 90 days, even though COVID in their bodies is not contagious at that point, and it's usually not symptomatic at that point. So, as I told one person who was asking a question about that, you know, it's kind of like, you know, after you get COVID, at least in the district, it's like you've been playing Mario Brothers and you just bumped into the star, so you're just running around in that star for about 30 seconds before anything can get you. So that is the protocol on everything that's going on, and that is all of the updates that I had at this point. What questions did folks have at this point? We have a little bit of time for some questions about, you know, instruction or about career day or about COVID or about anything else. So I'll pause for a minute and see if there's questions. Ooh, great question. Are there culmination details that I can share? Thank you for that question. Not just yet. However, what I can say is culmination is June 10th. That I think we shared earlier at the beginning of the year. I'm working on the update today and early next week about exactly what time it will be on the 10th. And I don't want to give wrong information, but long story short, I'll tell you this. Originally, June 10th was going to be a pupil-free day, meaning culmination could happen whenever we wanted on June 10th because nobody else is here. However, because LAUSD decided January 10th is going to be everybody's pupil-free day. Now, what that means is June 10th is actually an instructional day. So all our students are here on June 10th. So that may mean we needed to make an adjustment in terms of what time culmination is happening. So stay tuned for that. My goal is to get that information out to all of our 8th grade families no later than next Friday. Thank you for that question. What other questions might folks have? Yes, kids are testing today. Yep, kids are testing today. All right, well, if there aren't any questions, we'll go ahead and end it. As always, y'all have my email address. I'll put it in the chat again in case there are new folks. If anything comes up, email me or send me a message on Class Dojo. That's a really good way too. And oh, one other quick thing I will tell you, because someone asked me about it on Class Dojo. It is not required by the district yet. However, your child can get a booster at an LAUSD vaccination site that exists now. So if your child's been fully vaccinated and you want them to get a booster, it has to have been, I don't know, a certain number of months since the last dose. Is it 5 months? Okay, 5 months since the last dose. Your child can get a booster. Your 12-year-old or older can get a booster at one of the LAUSD sites. So you can go online and make an appointment for that at one of those things. Will there be any other opportunities this year for fundraising, i.e. the Chipotle fundraiser? That would be awesome if we could do that. What I would ask is if there is like one particular fundraiser that one of the parents wants to be a point of contact with me on, shoot me an email or shoot me a Class Dojo message and say, hey, could we do for example, a Chipotle fundraiser or a C's Candy fundraiser or something, and I'm willing to kind of help coordinate and be the liaison between the school and the organization. In past years, we've also had a scholastic book fair that we've done previously. So that would be super helpful for the school. It's a way to get families involved. It's a way to, do something fun for our community. It's a way to, to give back to the school. So maybe, some families donate monetarily to the school, which is wonderful. Some families donate like, lightly used uniforms, which is wonderful. Some families donate time, which is like, hey, I can coordinate, a fundraiser, and that is awesome. So anything like that, just shoot me a message on either school on an email or on Class Dojo, and we'll take it from there. All right, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and I'll keep planning on doing these weekly updates. One thing I also will say is this: I'm preaching to the choir here. Your kids are already enrolled. If your child is already enrolled, you do not have to do anything for next year. If you have a 6th or 7th grader here, they're automatically re-enrolled for next year. However, we're going to be opening our enrollments for next year to next year's 6th grade class on our website in the next couple of weeks or so. So if you have families at your child's elementary school that are asking questions about like when are they going to open the process, the answer is going to be in the next couple of weeks or so, and more information is all on our website. So that's it. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and we'll see you next week.